The Good Samaritan, love your neighbor. This story comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. It is one of the most powerful lessons Jesus Christ ever taught about kindness, compassion, and what it truly means to love others. One day, a religious expert approached Jesus with a serious question. He asked, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus replied with another question. "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" The man answered confidently, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself." Jesus nodded and said, "You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live." But the man wanted to justify himself further, so he asked another question. "And who is my neighbor?" Instead of giving a simple answer, Jesus told a story. There was once a man traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho. The road between these two cities was dangerous. It was rocky, lonely, and often filled with robbers waiting to attack travelers. As the man walked along the road, suddenly robbers surrounded him. They attacked him, beat him, stole everything he had, and left him lying on the roadside, badly injured and barely alive. The man was helpless. He could not stand. He could not walk. He desperately needed someone to help him. After some time, a priest came walking down the same road. In those days, priests were respected religious leaders. People looked up to them as examples of holiness. When the priest saw the injured man lying on the road, he noticed him. But instead of helping, the priest crossed to the other side of the road and walked past him. He left the injured man there. Later, another traveler came along. This man was a Levite, someone who also served in the temple and knew the religious laws. The Levite saw the injured man too. He came closer and looked at him. But then, just like the priest, he walked away and continued down the road. The wounded man was still lying there, weak and suffering. Two people who were expected to help had already passed by. Then a third traveler came along. This man was a Samaritan. Now this part of the story surprised many listeners. In those days, Jews and Samaritans did not get along. They avoided each other and often treated one another with suspicion. Yet when the Samaritan saw the injured man, something different happened. His heart was filled with compassion. Instead of walking away, the Samaritan stopped. He went over to the wounded man and began to care for him. He gently cleaned the man's wounds and poured oil and wine on them to help them heal. Then he carefully placed the injured man onto his own donkey. Slowly, he brought him to an inn where he could rest and recover. But the Samaritan did not stop there. The next day, he gave the innkeeper 2 silver coins. He said, "Take care of this man. If you spend more money caring for him, I will repay you the next time I return." The Samaritan made sure the wounded stranger would be safe and cared for. After telling this story, Jesus turned back to the religious expert and asked him an important question. "Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The expert replied, "The one who showed mercy to him." Jesus then said something simple but powerful. "Go and do the same." This story teaches us something very important. Being a good neighbor is not about where someone comes from, what they believe, or whether they are like us. A true neighbor is someone who shows kindness, compassion, and mercy to others in need. The priest and the Levite knew the religious laws, but they chose not to help. The Samaritan, however, chose compassion. He stopped. He cared. He helped. And that is what Jesus wants us to do. Every day, we meet people who need kindness. It might be someone who is lonely, someone who is hurting, someone who simply needs a helping hand. When we choose to help others with love and compassion, we are living out the message that Jesus taught. The lesson of the Good Samaritan reminds us that love is not just something we say. Love is something we do. So whenever you see someone in need, remember this story. Choose kindness. Choose compassion. Choose to be a neighbor. And just as Jesus said, go and do the same. If you enjoyed this Bible story, subscribe to this channel for more inspiring Bible stories and lessons. And don't forget to share this story so others can learn the power of kindness and compassion.